Okay.
And listen, I would talk to Drew. We talked to him Friday about it, and we had a conversation after we did the interview with Breeze. He was like, Mike, I'm still with you on blocking halfbacks. That it's a part of the game not a lot of people pay attention to.
A Town Square media station. WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to center and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning and welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. It's a Wednesday morning, beautiful Wednesday morning, hump day edition of the Martin Houston Show. We're live, local, and ready to get things going. Find us on that radio dial at Tide 100.9 and on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter under a couple different handles at Martin Houston 35. Being the main one. Thank you so much for getting up and Adam with us this morning. We're so glad that you've chosen to make us a part of your morning routine. I want to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. It is open for business, and I need you to go ahead and make it a part of your routine. Go ahead and pick up that phone and dial a number. And if you happen to be tuned in on the chat side or listening on the live stream, please go ahead and put your thoughts, your comments, and your questions in there today. Got a great show lined up for you. I'm driving solo, so want to make sure that I open up these phone lines and keep them open for you all morning long. We will end the show as we do every Wednesday with Scotty Hollins with the Harvest Church Christian Moment of the Week when we wrap things up. So go ahead and make that part of the day as we wrap up the show with that. But up until then, it's all about Bama, all about sports, and all about you. It's the Sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team, the Martin Houston Show, fastest hour in sports radio. Got a great show lined up for you. Got a lot of topics, of course, with it being Wednesday. Got a little Would You Rather Wednesday set up for you. We can talk QB battle. We can talk regular position battles. We can talk about the upcoming scrimmage. We can talk about the AP preseason ranking and what that means for Alabama, if it means anything at all, amongst other things. And hey, listen, you can turn it into a wild card Wednesday if you want. Maybe you want to go back and circle back on something that you heard and you want to pick back up on that. Nick Saban also talked a little bit about the quarterbacks. He talked a little bit about the tight ends and inside linebackers, special teams, which may be one of our strengths this year. And then he circled back again on the O-line, D-line, depth, and carrying Arnold. So any and all of that conversation is up for the course. As we kick things off, I want to remind you that this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, Noah. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right. Doing all right. How are you?
Oh man, I couldn't be better, man. Taking oxygen in and putting some of that dioxide out, so I'm good, man. I'm really good. So
That's what we like to hear.
do it now.
That's what we like to hear.
Absolutely. Hey, a couple would you rather questions to go ahead and get people thinking while I talk about a couple other things. There's been a lot of conversation, and most of our conversation has been about the offense, and because that's where our biggest question mark is, of course, is what about quarterback? And the reality of it is, we've had like the best recruiting classes in the country, top 3 or 4 years now. I mean, it's not like we fell off in recruiting. So there's plenty of talent in Tuscaloosa. And the question everybody asking is, what about the quarterback? What about the quarterback? What about the quarterback? If you could go back and have Bryce Young, would you rather have Bryce Young and have finished in outside of the top 5 in recruiting? Okay, just hold on to that now. You could have Bryce Young as your quarterback, but you have finished outside of the top 5 in recruiting. Or you could have any of the 3, you pick your guy, and you say, I would rather have Jalen Milroe, or I'd rather have Ty Simpson, or I'd rather have Tyler Buckner, or I'd rather have Eli Hosting, or I'd rather have Dylan Longing, whoever you want, and have the recruits we have. Which one would you rather have? Think about that for a second. If we were sitting here today, and you could choose, you could have not the recruits you have now. You'd have to you could have Bryce Young, potentially the single greatest quarterback and potentially best player to play at Alabama. You could have him, but you would be outside of the top 5. Let me make it a little easier. Only outside of the top, you just be 4 or lower. I'm gonna make it even easier on you. You just wouldn't be top 3 recruiting classes. You just be 4, 5, or lower. Or you could take the classes you've had, which have been 1, 2, and 3 over the last 3 or 4 years, and one of the quarterbacks that's on. Which one would you take? Is football a team game, or is it an individual game? Which one would you rather have? So null on that for a little bit. The other would you rather is, would you rather end up at the end of the year, would you rather have 2,500 to 3,000 yards passing? No, let's just make it 3, because that's what we've been averaging, right, Noah? We've been averaging about 3,500 to 4,000 yards passing.
All right.
With the Tuas and the Bryces and all that. Would you rather have one guy playing quarterback throwing 3,500 yards? Would you rather have a couple 1,000-yard rushers in the backfield as a whole getting close to 3,000? So that's just 3,000 versus 3,000. Would you rather have a 3,000-yard, 3,500-yard passer, or a backfield that produces 3,000 yards? Think about that for a second. Which one would you rather have? And last but not least, on the would you rathers that you can think about for a little bit, would you rather have well, actually, I might make this too. My original thought was, would you rather have a really good blocking halfback or a really good blocking wide receiver? Would you rather have a really good blocking halfback or a really good blocking wide receiver? And then last, I throw it out there too. Would you rather have a wide receiver that is like total dominant blocker, but he may occasionally drop a pass Or would you rather have a guy that never drops a pass, but he's an okay blocker? Yeah, just something for you to think about out there. Because all of those things are the type things that people don't think about when they're thinking about positions. They're thinking about, oh my God, he got all of these yards. Okay, yeah. But did he do the other job that's required of him? Oh, he got all of these yards. Oh, but did he do his other job? Is he a liability? Is he an asset or a liability? That's the would you rather question. Once again, would you rather have Bryce Young and you would end up outside of the top 3 in recruiting, or would you end up with rather have the guys you have now with the top recruiting classes? That's one would you rather. Then the other one is would you rather have 2,000-yard rushers in the running back room get about 3,000 yards total for the season, or would you rather have a quarterback that goes like we've been having 3,500 yards or so? Would you rather have a blocking wide receiver or a blocking halfback? And then would you rather have a receiver that occasionally drops a ball, but man, they can flat out block? Or would you rather have a guy that never drops a pass, but can't block at all at the wide receiver position? All right, those are kind of would you rather questions. So we'll talk about those and add those to the conversation as we move throughout. You can get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. You can also put your thoughts, your comments, and your responses in on chat. Coming back out of the break, we'll hear what Nick Saban had to say, a couple of his comments coming out of the break. You're listening to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet on the roadways this Wednesday morning. Now, if you do see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, give me a call, 205-886-8886. Grab these savings now at Townsend Nissan, $2,000 off Rogue and Altimas, $5,000 off Muranos, and there's more at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
In 1958, the world was introduced to Buddy Guy.
I sit and cry and sing the blues.
Don't miss the legend live.
You're damn right, I got the blues.
The Damn Right Farewell Tour. Saturday, September 2nd. Pearl River Resort Silverstar Convention Center. Tickets on sale now at pearlriverresort.com.
I don't say too much.
The Damn Right Farewell Tour.
Let my guitar do the talking.
Buddy Guy, live.
Big Buck Bounty is coming to West Alabama. Town Square Media Tuscaloosa is pleased to announce the first annual Premier Hunting Competition, October 14th through February 10th, 2024. Thousands of dollars in cash and prizes. We'll be picking winners each week based on the scoring of the deer by a professional taxidermist. Prizes include an all-terrain hunting vehicle, hunting gear, and more. Big Buck Bounty will award winners in the open division, youth, bow, and women's. If your business wants to become a marketing partner with Big Buck Bounty, log on to 953thebear.com and click on Advertising and Marketing Solutions.
The all-new Nissan Ariya is a fully loaded EV. It's brimming with style and power.
Up to 389 horses of it.
Innovation and intelligence.
E-Force all-wheel drive.
It'll pin you to your seat.
Your very plush seat.
The all-new, all-electric Nissan Ariya. E-Force cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. E-Force and 389 horsepower available on Platinum Plus. Nissan calculation using 1-foot rollout testing with long-range battery and E-Force only in sport mode with E-Step off. These results are for comparison only and should not be attempted on public roads. Drive responsibly. See nissanusa.com for details.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A very nice mid-August day. Sunny and less humid today. The high 87. Clear and pleasant tonight, the low 64. Tomorrow and Friday, sunny both days with a warming trend. The high tomorrow 90, the high Friday at 94. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 66 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
yeah, guys have to focus. They got to get reps. They got to learn from their mistakes. It's maturity. And the only way those players are going to get it is, how many times can we do it over and over and over and over? And it's not, he's not practicing until you get it right. It's practicing it so much you can't get it wrong. And that's how you develop confidence in things in terms of the habits that you develop and the things that you need to do to be able to play to the best of your ability. And that's what we have to do. I've talked about this before. When you lose guys on your team, then the younger guys get cast into positions maybe they wouldn't have been in if those guys didn't leave your team. And the depth of your squad gets affected to some degree by some of those things. So it's important that we do a great job of developing the young players and getting them in a position where they can be players who can go in and play with confidence and give us a chance to be successful even if they have to play.
All right. That's Coach Nick Saban. I think he was talking about Cohen heading out into the portal and heading down to Miami, him leaving. Could you imagine how different we would be looking at this offensive line if Cohen had stayed and we were just looking for a left tackle position? Probably would have kicked him back out to left tackle and then put Proctor in at guard and roll with it with that front five. But hey, he left because he wanted money for his girlfriend, I think is what the story that came out of camp was. But neither here nor there. Proctor and others fighting for position. Ferguson making noise. Lots of guys seem to be fighting to get there. Then on the defensive line, you got a bunch of young guys just hungry. Smith and the others trying to get in there. Tim Smith, a vet, time for his breakout year. What's going to happen? This defensive line has a chance to make a little noise. So will they do it? Chad wants to talk to us about it. Chad, you're in with Martin on the Alabama One hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin, I was just want to talk about everybody worried about the offensive line, the drop balls, everything,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not worried at all. Like Nick Saban, I mean, you don't recruit like this and have all these problems. I mean, I know it's going to get worked out,
What you talking about, the drop balls?
The drop balls, the offensive line, everything that everybody's worried about, Like Nick Saban's going to figure it out.
Well, you have to understand two things. One is the drop balls, I think, is us reporting on the drop balls. Because I really hadn't heard Saban.
They're not showing the good balls, good catches.
Well, and Saban hasn't said anything about the drop balls, really. It's been more reporting that there's been drop balls at key points, et cetera. But there's been no name of who dropped the balls. I was talking to Ryan Fowler, and one of the guys who dropped some balls last year was Burton, right? But you haven't heard anybody say that Burton.
He's got way better.
But what you haven't heard reported is Burton had like his best scrimmage since he's been on campus. So
this is his money year. He knows.
Yeah, that's right. So you haven't heard that side, but you've heard, the drops continue from last year. I think some of the drops, I've said this a couple times, Chad, I think some of the drops come from the fact that you're rotating so many quarterbacks and the balls are different, and you have so many guys fighting for position that guys they're learning each other, they're learning the way the ball's thrown. That's why I say that they have to go ahead and get a starting quarterback so that the starting quarterback can start getting reps. Catching a ball from Jalen Milroe, let me take it back. Catching a ball back in the day from Michael Vick was different than catching the ball from other quarterbacks. Well, it's the same way, even though two guys may be right-handed. So it takes practice. It takes time. So that I'm not really worried about that. The O-line thing, I think that is Nick Saban talking in the media, but talking to his players. I think he is telling us that depth chart thing and people hear him say, "Oh, we got to find depth." Well, when was the last time Nick Saban said that? I said this with DC yesterday, Chad. Normally he's saying we're trying to find 5 linemen. He said we have 6, 7 starters and we're trying to find depth. That's a good thing, folk.
Oh yeah, it's a real good thing because some
Yeah,
people don't have 4 linemen to start.
that's right. He's not trying to find a starting 5. He's trying to figure out
I
which.
played football. It was high school, but I played football, so I
Yeah.
know how it works. Like,
Yeah, so
I mean, I wasn't quite big enough to play, college, but
yeah, and so I think people hear Saban. Sometimes they hear him say things, and chat they'll run with it, but they don't hear. They hear the words, but they don't listen to what he's saying. And like the fact that he's saying we're looking for depth at this point is a good thing. You don't
Very
look
good.
for depth.
And I like Nick Saban when he's mad too.
You think he's mad right now?
A subtle mad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think he's loving life. I think Nick Saban loves the fact that everybody is under.
I think he likes his team. To be honest with you,
I think he loves the team. I think he loves the fact that
I
he's
think if
riding under the radar.
Jalen Milroe wins this job, I think people better look out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm feeling it with you, Chad. Anything else you got for us?
Only one other thing. I became an Alabama fan in 1992 when y'all won the national championship. My dad took me to the game. I was 13 years old.
Welcome.
And that's when I started following the Tide.
Well, awesome. Glad you. That was a good year to pick, and glad you're still with us.
I love y'all, man.
Roll Tide,
your
Chad.
show, and I love all of y'all shows.
Thank you for calling in. Appreciate you, Chad.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Real quick, Todd had a response on the Would You Rather. Todd, you're in with the on the Mark and Houston show. And which Would You Rather question are you answering?
Man, I tell you what, I love the way you get us thinking early in the morning about this Would You Rather stuff here. I tell you, the fullback, I believe you said, and wide receiver. I want the one that's going to be that headbanger, and I believe it's going to be the fullback over the wide receiver. I think he's going to pack a much larger punch. I've seen games change with one hit, and man, I want game changers. I want headbangers. I believe Milroe will out headbang, line him up at Oklahoma, and that's my man right there. He's going to run over anybody else out there. We'll worry about throwing later on. Receiver, if he can hit harder than that fullback, well, then that's the one I would rather have, that receiver, if he's going to pack a larger punch. So I want the one that's going to pack the punch, Martin. I believe you pack the larger punch than the receivers you play with.
Yeah, well, and I think this is why I asked that question. The wide receiver versus the blocking, and I said running back, H back, or a receiver who can block versus catch. Two things. What are we going to be this year? Are we going to be a team that throws it 40 times a game? If we do, you want the guy that doesn't drop the ball. Okay. So the first question is, would you rather have a blocking halfback or a blocking wide receiver? If you're going to throw the ball 40 times, you want the blocking halfback so he can protect that quarterback's back blind side, right? So he can be the guy that helps when there's stunts and loops and blitzes. But if you're going to run the ball, maybe you want something different. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to run the ball, you want Julio Jones out there blocking, because think about how often we used to have long runs. Everybody thinks it's always about the running back. Derrick Henry didn't have all those. Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, they didn't have all of those long runs because they were great running backs. They had Julio Jones and guys like Amari Cooper and guys like Norwood and guys like that who were committed to blocking. What we've done in the last few years is we've gone to a pass game, right? We've gone to a pass game, Todd, and those guys can catch the ball, but they're not committed to blocking, or they're not good at it. They may be committed. They're just not great blockers. So you end up with a bunch of 15-yard runs and 18-yard runs, but you don't have very many 55 and 60-yard runs. Think about this. Jalen Milroe scrambles, and you got a wide receiver who can block. What does that become?
He's gone. Touchdown.
Right? Jace McClellan breaks out to the sideline. Who usually makes the tackle? It's not a lineman or a linebacker.
Right.
It's the safety of the corner that was covering the wide receiver. Right? So it's the difference. A really, really good blocking wide receiver a lot of times makes the difference in the running game having more explosive plays. So anything else you got?
Putting it like that, we'll go with that head banging receiver so we can get some blocks downfield so we can get back to those long runs and
Right.
changing offensive coordinators. Hopefully we can get a little bit more balance of not only balance but creativity. Being able to manage the game and flow with the game and knowing how to call what play you need to call at a specific time and knowing what the defense, setting that defense up so you're not just coaching 11, you're coaching 22. And
That's right.
If we get that this year, it's money.
Yeah, and Todd, that's the whole thought there is if we're going to be a run first team, you need we've talked about the O-line being in. Boom. We've talked about the running backs being in. Boom. We've talked about the offensive coordinators being in. Boom. We've talked about the running backs being in. So and everybody's in, but we've not talked about the tight ends and the wide receivers being in. If this running game is going to be what it needs to be and be at a national championship level, you have to have wide receivers who are committed to the run game and willing to block. So,
Right.
All right.
Hopefully in this second half of the fall camp here, the receivers will step up to the plate, and we'll start hearing some greatness out of those guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
Love you, brother.
All right. Hey, listen, when we come back on the other side, I'll address the would you rather. We got plenty of conversation to get to. And so what we don't get to, we'll just kick it down the can to tomorrow and Friday. We'll have recruiting on tomorrow with MaX Recruiting. Blind Squirrel Sport addressing the would you rather have a receiver who drops the ball versus blocking. I'll address that on the other side. And let me tell you, why does Alabama need wide receivers who are committed to the run game? We'll talk about it and why that all adds up. Does this whole offense and game plan depend on whether or not our wide receivers can block? Maybe, maybe not. We'll answer that question, talk more about it. Invite you to get in on the conversation, 205-342-9904. You can also join us on the live stream. Give us your thoughts, your comments, and your responses.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet on the roadways this Wednesday morning. Now, if you do see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, give me a call, 205-886-8886. Grab these savings now at Townsend Nissan. $2,000 off Rogue and Altimas, $5,000 off Muranos, and there's more at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Dead battery, flat tire, out of gas, have an accident? When your auto won't go and you need a tow, call a pro. Jeff's Towing, 75 Skyland Boulevard, 205-361-3997, 205-361-3997.
The Tuscaloosa County chapter of the University of Alabama National Alumni Association is getting ready to roll with the tide at their annual fall kickoff event that is open to alumni, parents, and fans. It will be on Thursday, August 17 from 6 to 8:30 at the Skygate Club of the Westgate Luxury Condominiums. For more information and to buy tickets, search Kickoff Event 2023 on Eventbrite.
The extracurricular activities, the traffic, the nightly homework, the traffic, the finding time to eat dinner together as a family, the traffic. Back to school can be stressful. Thanks to Ziploc, meal prep doesn't have to be. New Ziploc bags with Stay Open design have a patented stand-up bottom that helps keep the bag upright and a top crease that folds and holds for easy filling, unlocking a second set of hands in the kitchen. If only it unlocked a second set of lanes. New Ziploc brand freezer and storage bags with Stay Open design from SC Johnson, a family company.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Yeah, he's doing great. You know, he's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he understands the offense a lot better. He is a mismatch player to some degree in the passing game, and he's done a really good job. He was very productive in the first scrimmage. And he is blocking better. And I think that he can be an impact player for us if he continues to grow and progress, and we're excited about his future.
All right, that's Coach Nick Saban talking about Nye Black in a mismatch at tight end, and we'll break him down just a little bit more in his role and importance there. Before we do that, I want to just pay a couple bills here. I want to remind you that today is Wing Wednesday over at Billy's Cooking Restaurant. And go ahead and make your game day plans for wing platters. Wing platters must be placed the Wednesday before the game weekend. They have several different platters. You can get, the T-Town Special, which is 3 slabs of ribs, 50 wings, and 1/4 sauce. Feeds 15. That's 130. You got the SEC deal, which is 5 slabs of ribs, 75 wings, half gallon of sauce. Feeds 30. That's 205. The Champ, 6 slabs, 100 wings, feeds 50, and that's 310. Or you can just get your Boston butt at 37 or slab of ribs at 28. So, and then I'll give you more of the party wings. You can start at 25 with one flavor at $27, 50, 2 flavors, 51. There's so much more to get to, and we'll be sharing that. But hey, if you're making big plans for the weekend and make Billy's Cooking Restaurant a part of those plans, go get one of those game day platters. Feed a few or feed a lot. That's Billy's Cooking Restaurant, Wednesdays through Sundays, opening at 11 a.m.
Martin,
go ahead, Noah.
You excited for game day? We're getting so close now.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe it. I mean, it's like you go all off season, and bam, all of a sudden it's right there on you.
Really,
and for me now, I've watched more preseason football probably than I have in a while, because there's so many Bama guys. You can just about turn on any game and watch a Bama guy play. So I've watched even preseason. So I think I've gotten in the spirit a little bit more this year than I have even in times past. And I don't know why. There's been a bunch of Bama guys, but for some reason this year I've watched even preseason even a little bit more. So, but it is up on us, and as they say, be here before you know it. And that's what's exciting. I think part of the other excitement, Noah, is that there is some uncertainty with this team. And is that all bad? I don't think it is. It's been a while with hunger, and one of my would you rather questions was, would you rather have Bryce Young, because everybody talks about how talented Bryce Young is, and there's no arguing that point. But football is a team sport, and the sum is greater than the individual, talent. And when you add up the talent that Alabama's had with Bryce, there was a couple of off recruiting classes, but Saban corrected that. But he's also had some transfers in the last couple of years. So does Alabama have the talent here that they've had in the past? I would say that they're still one of the most talented rosters in the country. They're either one or two. And when you have a guy like Bryce, what tends to happen, Noah, is you can get caught up in the watching mode. What I mean by that, or the waiting mode, is you have 10 guys on a football field or 4 guys on a basketball court waiting on a guy to make a play. Now, baseball is a team sport, but you can't have a pitcher who can totally dominate a game, right? But that doesn't work in football.
Yeah.
Where everybody waits on the one guy to throw the winning pitch. Everybody has to be contributing on every play. And like it, love it, or hate it, I think Bryce Young allowed Bill O'Brien and others on this staff, and potentially even players, to be lazy. And you've heard me reference my book before, a couple times. It's called The Encouragement Factor. Give me one more inch. And the whole concept behind that title and that principle, Noah, is that we all, human beings, naturally reserve effort. I guess the best way to put it.
For sure.
Meaning that what we call 100% is never really 100%. In other words, you can take a person who works really hard and throw some type of crisis situation into it, and what does their efforts automatically do?
They increase.
It goes to the next level, right? So that's just natural. That's natural. So that's like taking somebody that works really hard. Well, when you take a guy like Bryce Young, that level that everybody operates at actually can begin to creep down because he's so good. What happens when a guy gets injured? What happens when a starter gets injured? Everybody steps up, right? Last year, we were not struggling, but we were not blowing Arkansas out, were we? When Bryce got hurt.
Oh, definitely not.
Bryce goes out, and everybody did what around Miro? They all rallied. It wasn't just that Miro came in and played well. It was the other 10 guys did what? They gave one more inch. They all raised their level of execution. And all of that talent of the other 21 guys was so superior to the talent of the 22 guys that Arkansas had. And then you threw Miro's talent into it, and we pulled away. I think that's what Alabama has a chance to do this year. That's why I say I'll take. Don't get me wrong. If you were asking me if I had the exact same talent and I would take Bryce, and I would take my book, and I would figure out how do I get one more inch out of these other guys while I have Bryce Young. But I don't have Bryce Young. But I think that there's a way that I can get these guys to raise their level. In other words, I always tell people, think about the mom where they tell you the stories where some 2-ton thing or 1-ton thing or something, 2,000-pound thing fell on a child or something, and this little bitty skinny mom ran over and did what? Boom, picked it up off of them or whatever. If I could figure out how to get that type of intensity, extra adrenaline consistently from my team, I'll take a Milroe because I think everybody raises their level. I think everybody gives one more inch when there's not a superstar out there who doesn't know how to get more out of their players. Now, you take a Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan knew how to get one more inch out of his what? Teammates, right? So, I don't know that Bryce did that. And I'm not dogging Bryce, but I don't know that Bryce and Will Anderson got one more inch out of their teammates. So maybe just not having them, the guys realize I have to give more, and that's what Alabama's going to have. So I'd rather have, in this Would You Rather Wednesday, I'm going into this season with the talent we have on this roster and Jalen Milroe over going back and having Bryce Young in a less talented team. So not the same talent, less talented team. As far as your running back, I had one of the other would you rather questions was, would you rather have a blocking running back, halfback, or a blocking wide receiver, Noah? Which one of those would you rather have?
Oh, this is a tougher one. Like, I could have answered the past one, but
well, let me go back to the other one. Which one of those would you rather have? I'll give you a chance to answer the other one first, and then I'll explain my answer.
Okay, wait. Can you say the question for me one more time?
On the quarterback situation, would you rather have Jalen Milroe in this talented team that's been 1, 2, or 3, or Bryce Young with a fourth or fifth team as far as recruiting?
I would have to agree with you. I would much rather go with the team that we have, the recruited team, like a higher recruited team overall than a single player. Because it's like you mentioned, if that single player gets hurt, they could be taken out for the whole season. And it's like, well, now you're in a pickle.
That's right. So now to fast forward to the running back question. Here's what I tell people. Listen, you need a halfback that can block. Okay. Especially if you throw the ball a lot, because that halfback becomes the guy, Noah, who picks up the blitzes, who chips when a guy blitzes off the corner. And we're going to need a lot of chip blocks on that left tackle. What a chip block is when the outside linebacker rushes off to the corner and the tackle has him and he's getting around him. A really good blocking halfback could be going out on a route, but just as he passed by, he throws an elbow out and just hits the outside shoulder of that outside linebacker. It makes him turn and slow down enough that the tackle is able to regain position and win the block. You need that, especially if you're going to pass the ball a lot. But watch this. But if you're going to run the ball a lot, you need a receiver who can block. And I talked a little bit because earlier about those long runs. Those long run, Noah, a lot of times you'll see a guy get tackled, and it's almost a long run. And you look in the picture, watch it this year on any game you watch how many times you see a receiver throw his hands up or go because he didn't block that guy that made the tackle. That had he just got in the way, sometimes the running back goes for 60 yards or 50 yards or 40 yards. But the receiver wasn't a good blocker, didn't give great effort. But watch this. You know the other part of that? I don't think we're going to be a drop back, just line up, throw it all over the yard. I think we're going to be a play action team. So now think about the multiplication of, if I run the ball well, then the DBs have to play run support. They have to come up and make sure that I'm running the ball. If I'm a good blocker, then I stalk block that guy, meaning I come at him like I'm going to block him. He's now conscious of the run game. He's looking in the backfield at the run game, and I come up like I'm going to block him. The quarterback and the running back makes a good mesh point, makes it fake. Quarterback pulls it out because I'm committed to the blocking game. This guy's committed and I'm blocking. He goes to engage me as a blocker. I make a move, I slip him, and I'm off in the play action, deep ball, touchdown. A good blocking receiver in a run game that is committed to the run actually helps the passing game as well. If you're not going to be pass first, you need a good blocking halfback. So, all right, I got one more would you rather. I got a couple minutes on the other side before we bring Scotty Hollins in. I'll address, would I rather have a guy who drops the ball occasionally but is a good blocker? Or would I rather have the guy that catches all of them but that's not a good blocker? We'll talk about it right here on the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a wreck, 2059, affecting traffic in both directions at the Mercedes-Benz number 89 exit. Everything else looks pretty good, but if you see conditions, just give me a call. Grab these savings now at Townsend Nissan, $2,000 off Rogue and Altimas, $5,000 off Muranos, and there's more at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Wednesday morning. Today is the day a portion of Highway 69 South will be closed temporarily for utility work. That's all in preparation for a major 3-year construction project. Cranberry Road and its median crossover will be closed at its intersection with Highway 69 until August 25th. This is the first step in preparing for construction of the Highway 69 flyover bridge that will keep traffic from having to stop at the Skyland Boulevard intersection. That project goes to bid next year. I'm Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
If you want to start a career in a very stable industry, Drax is hiring for their Demopolis and Aliceville plants. Positions include electricians, mechanics, control room operators, pellet mill operators, and mobile equipment operators. Drax offers great benefits, including 401k with 100%, 6% match, 2 weeks paid vacation, health insurance, life insurance, short and long-term disability, and employee stock purchase plan. To apply, visit Drax.com, click the Careers tab at the top of the page.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We're going to try to cram it all in before we get to Scotty Hollins. We got about 3 minutes, so remember, go check out Alabama One, alabama1.org. They have great opportunity for you to win a vacation there, alabama1.org, whether it's a deposit or a loan. You can win either way. Go check it out, alabama1.org. What's your one? And if you can't get online, stop by one of our branch locations. All right, I'll kick my would you rather question about the drop versus the passes. I know Blind Squirrel Sports said he'd rather have the guy that doesn't drop the passes. Maybe not. But Pat and Philip, I'm going to give you both just a few seconds here to respond. Pat, you're in first with the Martin Houston Show with Martin on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Martin, a high tide floats all ships. And what I mean by that is that I think that with any one of these 3 or 4 quarterbacks that we have, that this team is going to be absolutely fantastic. That I really do believe that coach has got good players in all positions. I'm hearing good things about the wide receivers. Hey, I'm hearing great things about Keon Keeley. At 6'5" and 240 pounds of chiseled muscle.
Well, wow. Pat, I think if you add up, I know we had more star power in Will Anderson and Bryce Young, but I think if you were to add up the composite star power, I think the ceiling for Bryce and the ceiling for Will is higher than anybody on this team on either side of the ball. But I think there's a lot more people that are closer to the ceiling. And I think the floor is a lot higher. In other words, our low is a lot higher than last year. So those low moments where we underperformed, I don't think you'll see those this year. Anything else real quick? I got that.
Yeah, we'll share our time. Have a blessed day, Martin Houston.
Yes, sir. All right, Philip, you're in with Martin Houston Show with Martin. What's on your mind, sir?
I just want to say I thought that what Saban said yesterday about leadership was just absolutely brilliant. When he said it, I knew exactly where he was coming from, and I've never been smart enough to think of it in those terms like he did, but it was brilliant the way he said it. And I like this defense. I think is going to be so much better. It's going to just permeate to the rest of the team, and defense is going to set the tone, I think. But let me tell you something. Jalen Milroe is going to be a hard guy to plan for because he can tuck it and go with it. And the next thing you know, he's covered 89 yards.
Who is that?
Milroe.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. Yeah. And if you have a blocking wide receiver, that's what I'm talking about. If you got a blocking wide receiver, all of a sudden, I think it's going to be the same way for the running backs. So, Philip, we'll talk. We'll get that leadership audio tomorrow, so everybody will know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, I hope you know what I'm talking about. But it was brilliant.
I do from yesterday. We were going to play it today. We just didn't get to it. Thank you, sir. All right. Noah, we ready to get to Scotty? I mean, we're flying this morning, so I appreciate
got him on the line here. I'll put him in.
All right. Hey, welcome in, Scotty. Good morning. Thanks so much for getting with us. It's Scotty Hollins, Executive Director of Blueprint Ministries. It's time for us to have our Harvest Church Christian Moment of the Week, where we learn how we can incorporate our faith into the boardroom, the classroom, or our chosen field of play. I'll kick it off to you, Scotty.
Hey, man, thank you so much, Martin. Always a pleasure to join you on Wednesday morning.
Scotty, before I get, just wanted to let you know, several people told me, don't remember all their names, but I've ran into a couple people the last couple weeks that told me to give you a shout out. So thanks for all you're doing in the community, man. Thanks for all you're doing in the community.
Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Hey, locking arms with brothers like you, man. So truly a pleasure. So we're starting a new series this week, and a series that I think will be similar to our last series, but we're just going to be walking through other parts of the Bible. We're going to call this one Strength for the Storm. So we'll be talking about just different Bible characters, looking at various people in the scriptures who went through difficult situations, and we'll look at where they gained their strength from. Okay. And so I know that our listeners, we've heard the line that either you're in a storm, you just came out of one, or you're about to go into one. So you got to learn how to dance in the rain. And so I think as we look at the scriptures, we get a chance to see, obviously people who are in one of those cycles, they're in that cycle, they're in one of those stages, either they're in it, they just came out of it, or they're about to go into it. And so I think, one thing that we've heard as well is that we are not products of our circumstances, but we're products of our choices and decisions. And so, when we're going through storms, I want to encourage our listeners, I want to encourage everyone to have a mentality of, hey, what can I do? Hey, I might not have been responsible for how I got here, and sometimes we are responsible for how we got there. But in other cases, we didn't do, hey, we're just here. And it was like, what do I do now? And I think the choice is up to you. The choice is up to you. So you have to decide. So another line I think that encourages, and then we'll get into some scripture, is the line that I use so often, and I think this guides us right to scripture. And that's whatever you think about God becomes the lens through which you see all of life. So understand that whatever you believe about God is going to impact how you see all of life. And it will impact, including how you see all of life, including your circumstances, including your difficulties. All right. So I want you to know one thing that can provide lots of encouragement, lots of guidance, lots of grounding, and many other things is just spending daily time in God's word. All right. Opening the scriptures and spending daily time in God's word, just because it's going to help you understand who God really is. And the better you understand that, the more you not just, understand it, but really believe it. You know what I mean? And really embrace that, the more that will shape your lens on life. And, I think tell you that way it will affect that lens, especially relative to your circumstances. You know, a lot of times we think of David and Goliath, right? And we look at that story, we're like, how is that possible? How is this little guy, you got all these trained soldiers who are on the battlefield, who are, you know, but they're being challenged by Goliath, who's the champion. And you think about how does a little guy, a little shepherd, who's coming to bring a care package to his brothers, and his brothers rag on him, you know, like, man, why you here? We know you just trying to, you know, how does that little guy accomplish such a great, you know, victory, right? And here's why. It's all in the story. If you listen to the story, it's all there. You know, everybody else was thinking about what was in it for them. Everybody else was thinking about, you know, hey, here's this big circumstance. Here's this big, you know, adversity, this big challenge in my face. That's insurmountable. I can't defeat this dude. Nobody has ever defeated him. Everybody's ever gone up against him, you know, didn't walk away. No one walked away. Everyone ended up dead. So I can't defeat him. So the question is, like, what can I do? And here's the thing. David's view of God, you know, the other people, you know, his brothers and the other soldiers said, that obstacle is bigger than me. I can't, there's no way I can even, you know, they compared themselves to the obstacle. You know what David compared to that obstacle? His God. He says, look, that thing's bigger than me, but it's not bigger than my God. And as a result, and to even like convince the king, because the king was like, bruh, don't you see how big that dude is? You're a little guy and you a kid. There's no way you can fight him. No way. And David convinces him by telling him what his God had done. Hey, man, one time I fought a lion. A lion was trying to take my sheep. I fought him. God delivered him to me. And a bear, same thing. Here's the point. Just like God did that then, he will do that now. My point is, what's your perspective on God? And that will shape the lens of life. We will look at this as we walk through the strength through the storm.
Hey, you know, and it's so funny. I love to take when you teach something and help it where our Alabama folk can understand. This is the same way that the Alabama football team, when Nick Saban, think about every time Alabama has been considered down and out, it's their perspective on what he says, who's speaking into your life, and how much you trust that person. Because every time Alabama's been counted out, 2009, fifth lowest ranking, 2015, no one respected. Every time, not a superstar quarterback. Nick Saban comes out and says, guys believe. It's the same concept that you're saying. Nick Saban's not God. He's maybe the GOAT, but not God. But every time is whoever you value, whoever's input you value, and what their perspective is. When you gain their perspective, it changes how you live and how you act and you believe. Hey, but guess what? You know what? You were just breaking it down, and I'm sure you're going to add to it. It's those past experiences of David's victories that made him stand strong. And that's what David said. When God said it, he's shown me in his past. Now I'm going to walk in it. Tell them where they can find you, sir.
Got it. Hey, you can go to www.blueprinttuscaloosa.com. You can send me a message there. It comes straight to my email.
All right, man. That's Scotty Hollins, Executive Director, Blueprint Ministries with the Harvest Church Harvest Church Christian Moment of the Week. We loving God, loving people. Come check us out tonight at 6:00 for dinner and 6:30 for Word and Worship. I'm Martin Houston. That's Scotty Hollins. That's Noah Haynes. This has been the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports. We'll be back on tomorrow with more recruiting. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not on your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide out there, everybody. Have a blessed, prosperous, and successful day.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.